My ex-fiancée dumped me out of nowhere, saying she needed space. Months later, she came back pregnant, swearing the baby was mine, even though she'd been dating other guys since. I'm 32. I don't believe in soulmates anymore. There was a time I did, back when I was the kind of guy who believed in Sunday morning coffee rituals, handwritten notes, and surprise takeout on bad days. Back when I thought that if you gave someone everything, your time, your energy, your patience, they'd never just walk away without warning. I was engaged for 11 months. We'd been together almost 4 years, met through friends, fell fast, lived together within 6 months. She had this energy, the kind that made boring days feel cinematic, and when she smiled at me like I was the only person who ever mattered, I believed her. I wasn't stupid. I knew relationships weren't fairy tales. We argued sometimes. She was impulsive, I was steady. She'd shut down when things got hard. I'd over-explain trying to fix it. But we always came back to center, or so I thought. It was a Thursday when she told me she needed space. Not a fight, not even a tense week. Just breakfast, casual clothes, and a look in her eyes that didn't belong to the woman I knew. She said she didn't know who she was anymore. Said she felt trapped. That she'd never gotten the chance to explore life on her own terms. That we got serious too quickly. I asked if there was someone else. She said no. I asked if this was permanent. She said, I don't know. And then she left. Just like that. The worst part? I didn't chase her. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't want to be the guy begging a woman to love him. So I let her go. I cried for a week, stopped eating, canceled the venue, took the ring back, put her stuff in boxes and taped them shut, hoping one day she'd pick them up. But she never did. People say grief comes in waves, but for me, it was like drowning in still water. Nothing happening, but I couldn't breathe. She stopped responding to texts, muted me on socials. Friends said she was figuring herself out, that she needed freedom. But a month later, someone sent me a screenshot, her smiling at a bar, wrapped around some guy I'd never seen before. Freedom, I guess. 2 months later, a different guy. 3 months? No updates at all. I tried to move on. I dated half-heartedly, worked late, slept in the living room so I didn't have to pass the space where her dresser used to be. I started to accept it. She wasn't coming back. Then came the knock on my door. It was raining. I was in sweats. Hadn't shaved in days. And there she was, standing there like no time had passed. Face pale, hair in a bun, a hand on her stomach. Pregnant, very pregnant. And the first words out of her mouth? It's yours. I let her in. Not because I wanted to, but because shock makes you stupid, or polite, or both. She sat on the same couch we used to curl up on Sunday mornings, now rubbing her belly like that made everything less absurd. She looked at me like I owed her calmness, like I was supposed to nod and smile and ask when the due date was. She said the words carefully, like she'd rehearsed them. I didn't sleep with anyone else. Not really. Not then. It was complicated. Complicated. That's what people say when they don't want to admit something simple. She told me she'd had a moment of confusion, that she dated, but it was never serious. That the baby had to be mine because I was the last one that felt real. Felt real? I stared at her for a full minute before I could even speak. When? She blinked. I asked again, when exactly did we last sleep together? She looked down. I remembered. The last night, 2 weeks before she left, almost 6 months ago, she said she was 6 months along. Do the math. She left. She dated. She claimed confusion. But the dates didn't lie, and neither did biology. She must have conceived no more than a week or two after walking out. And still, she swore it was mine. Because emotionally, I was the last one she really connected with. As if emotional connection overrides conception windows. Here's the thing, I didn't blow up, didn't yell, didn't throw her out. I just listened. Let her say her piece, let her cry. Let her say she was scared, alone, didn't know who else to turn to. And then I told her I'd think about it. What I meant was, I needed to get the truth. The next day, I reached out to a mutual friend, someone who knew us both well back when we were together. I didn't need gossip. I needed context. I needed to know if there was even the smallest chance this child could be mine. Not emotionally, not spiritually, biologically. He didn't hesitate. Told me straight up. She'd been seeing people immediately after the breakup. Nothing official, but enough to raise questions. Different guys, different nights. One of them even met her family at some point. It lined up with the screenshots I'd seen before, the timelines, the gut feeling I kept trying to ignore. Still, I wanted to be absolutely sure. So I told her we needed to do a DNA test. Not wanted, needed. Her reaction? Tears. Silence. Then offense. She said I was accusing her of being reckless, that I was trying to disconnect from something beautiful, that I was ruining the bond between us and poisoning the chance to rebuild. I told her this wasn't about the past, it wasn't about us, it was about a child, a human life. And if there was even a 1% chance that baby was mine, I needed to know. Because if it was, I'd step up, fully, completely. She said she didn't want to feel like a criminal, that she didn't want to be treated like trash. I asked again. Calmly, she said no. I didn't yell, didn't argue. I just said one thing. If you're that sure it's mine, then the test won't change anything. But if you're not, then this isn't a conversation, it's a trap. She left, and this time she didn't slam the door. Because she knew, and I knew, and we were both just pretending not to. The next few days were quiet. Then I got a message from her sister. Not a warning, not a threat. Just a sentence that hit harder than any argument could have. She's lying to herself more than she's lying to you. That sentence lived rent-free in my head for days. It echoed at night when I stared at my ceiling, whispered in the background when I poured coffee, hovered over every conversation I had that week, even the meaningless ones, because that's when it clicked. She hadn't just tried to manipulate me. She had convinced herself I was still hers, not because of love, not because of guilt, but because in her story, I was always supposed to be the good man who forgave everything, who stayed, who fixed the mess, even if he didn't make it. I didn't respond to her sister. I didn't need to. The truth had already landed, and I was sitting in it now, not running, not breaking, just realizing. But she didn't know that, because 2 days later she came back. It was a Saturday, late morning. I'd just come back from the gym, headphones still around my neck, sweat-damp shirt sticking to my spine. I wasn't thinking about her, not even a little. And then there she was, standing outside my building. Same coat I bought her for her birthday, hair tied up, hands fidgeting with the sleeves, belly even more pronounced now. She looked up, startled that I was already there, and I knew it was about to begin again. She didn't ask to come up. She just said she wanted to talk. She'd been thinking a lot, said she felt ashamed, embarrassed, completely broken. I stood there, keys in hand, listening to a woman spiral through a monologue that felt more like rehearsal than confession. She told me she didn't lie, not really, that she truly believed the child was mine at first, that maybe she romanticized things a little, but it was only because she missed what we had. She said she couldn't do this alone, that she couldn't imagine raising a baby without support, without stability, without me. I didn't interrupt. I wanted to hear all of it, but because I needed to be absolutely certain that I wasn't making her the villain in my head. But she made it easy. She said maybe the paternity test wasn't necessary, that some truths ruin good things, that maybe love wasn't about blood, it was about bonds. And then she said the line that changed everything. If it had been yours, would it have mattered how it happened? That's when something in me shut down. Because that wasn't a question, that was a manipulation, disguised as philosophy. And I wasn't here for philosophy anymore. I told her I couldn't be what she wanted, not because I was cruel, not because I was punishing her, but because I refused to sacrifice my integrity for someone else's rewritten version of the past. I told her I hoped the baby would have a good life, that she would grow and change and learn from this, but that I wasn't going to be the man who cleaned up a story that never should have had me in it to begin with. She cried, hard, and for a second, I almost bent, because I remembered the girl I fell in love with, the way she used to look at me when I brought her hot tea after a long day, the way she used to tuck her legs under mine when we watched dumb movies, the way she once said, "I never want to unknow you," but that girl didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. She left on her own. No scene, no yelling, just slow, tearful silence. And this time, I didn't watch her walk away. I turned around, walked back inside, and locked the door for myself. After she left, that second and final time, things should have ended. And they did, between us. But the world around me, it kept spinning like nothing had been resolved. Because people love drama, and they hate unresolved stories. So when she posted the first baby photo, soft lighting, caption full of gratitude and second chances, the guessing game started. I didn't say a word, didn't like it, didn't comment, didn't share it. But somehow my silence made people louder. A cousin I barely talked to messaged me with a screenshot. "Wow, the baby really has your nose?" A girl I went on one date with months ago sent a voice note. "You don't have to be the biological dad to be a real one." Someone from her side, maybe a friend, maybe a plant, posted, "Sometimes men run from the best thing that ever happened to them." Run? I stood still when she walked. I listened while she lied. I was ready to raise a child that might not have even been mine, until she made it clear it wasn't. I didn't run. I just stopped letting people recast me in a story I didn't write. The ones who knew the facts, they stayed quiet. Because truth isn't loud. It doesn't need a hashtag. It just sits there, boring and undeniable. But everyone else, they wanted something grander. A redemption arc, a comeback, a photo of me holding a baby that wasn't mine, smiling like betrayal didn't burn a hole through me. And you know what? I get it. They need to believe in second chances, in unconditional love, in men who raise children because it's the right thing. But here's the truth they don't want. Sometimes the right thing is walking away, especially when the whole relationship was built on your ability to stay quiet. I didn't walk away because of the baby. I walked because of the lie, because of the manipulation, because someone looked me in the eyes and swore something sacred, and then cracked it open like it was disposable. That doesn't get patched with good intentions. It doesn't heal just because a child arrives. Some wounds stay closed because you choose never to pick the scab again. And no, I don't regret it. I sleep, I work, I started running again. Met someone new, early, casual but clean, no drama, no shadows, just room to breathe. And when people say, "You should have been there," I smile and say, "I was." Until she wasn't. I used to think I was the kind of man who stayed, no matter what. Through fights, confusion, mess, I stayed. And maybe that was the problem. Because some people don't see loyalty as love. They see it as opportunity, as insurance. She thought I was safe. The one she could run back to when things didn't work out. The one who would forgive, forget, and rebuild, even if I had to use pieces of myself I'd never get back. But I'm not that man anymore. Because here's what no one tells you. Forgiveness without honesty isn't healing, it's surrender. And I didn't survive what she did to me just to become silent again. People still bring her up, ask if I ever think about what could have been. And yeah, I do. I think about the wedding that never happened, the kid that wasn't mine, the version of me that almost settled for being someone else's plan B. And then I remember the silence that came after I finally said no, and how peace feels louder than closure ever did. This isn't a revenge story, no karma, no happy twist. It's just a man who almost got trapped in a lie wrapped in a cradle and chose to walk out with nothing but his name intact. So if you're reading this and someone's trying to guilt you into saving their story, let them finish it themselves. You're not a plot twist. You're not the resolution. You're the part they don't get to rewrite. Update. I thought the story was done, for real, this time, after she walked away. The last time, I felt like the air had cleared for the first time in months. No more questions, no more guilt, no more pretending she might come back with something honest. But life loves to test you one last time before letting you rest. She showed up again, not crying, not falling apart. This time she was composed, almost detached, like she was here on someone else's behalf. She said, "I need to do the test, for real this time." I didn't ask why, but I found out later. It wasn't about closure, it was pressure. Apparently, people in her life, maybe her boyfriend, maybe her parents, had started asking the same questions I asked months ago. They wanted answers, and this time, she couldn't outcry them. So we went. Quietly. A clinic across town. No drama, no talking. Just the cold logistics of something that should have happened from the start. Swabs, forms, numb silence. When we left, she didn't say anything, and I didn't expect her to. 3 days later, the results came. A thin envelope. My name typed on top. The same phrase I'd already known in my bones, now printed in black and white. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. I didn't feel relief, didn't feel anything at first. I just sat there, staring at it like I was reading something in a language I used to speak but had long forgotten. She messaged me later that day, didn't ask to meet, didn't apologize, just wrote, "I needed to see it written down." And that was all. No follow-up, no breakdown, no admission of guilt, no, "I'm sorry for what I put you through." It ended exactly the way it had started, quietly, without permission, and with me left to make sense of the mess alone. But this time, I didn't have to, because this time I already knew the ending. I wasn't planning to write any of this. But the DMS never stopped. The people in the comments, the ones who wanted to know, not out of drama, but because they'd lived something like this too. So here are my answers. Not to clear my name, but to finally put this to rest. Do you still think about her? I think about who I thought she was, and how much of myself I gave to someone who was just passing through. She lives in memory now, not in feeling. That's the difference. Do you ever wish the baby had been yours? Remember, I only wish I'd known the truth sooner. Not because it would have changed the outcome, but because maybe I wouldn't have spent so long questioning my own worth. Do you believe she ever loved you? Maybe. But not in a way that could hold. Not in a way that had room for honesty, loyalty, or consequences. And I've learned that love without those things is just possession with good lighting. Would you take her back if she came clean at the start? I would have tried. That's who I was back then. A fixer, a forgiver. But I'm not that man anymore, and honestly, he deserved better than what he got. Do you regret walking away? Absolutely not. I didn't walk away from her. I walked back to myself. So that's it. And really, this time, no dramatic twist, no burning bridge, just a man who was almost manipulated into fatherhood by someone who couldn't tell the truth even when it was easy, and now I don't owe anyone anything. Not silence, not explanations, not another chance. If you're reading this and wondering if you should fight to stay in someone else's fiction, let me say it as clearly as I can. You don't have to be the bigger person when being bigger just means bleeding quieter. You get to leave, you get to live, and you get to be done.